You're listening to Big World Network.
Amazing Grace, Episode 9. Written by James Hellvig, read by Meagan Hedin. Dale listens to the clipped conversations of the converging teams as his car speeds towards the church. Too many holes in this net. The car's SATCOM phone trills and Dale answers it, bracing his feet under the seat as his driver weaves in and out of traffic. Shadow 1, Authenticate Zulu 4. General Rozier replies gruffly, Romeo 5. NSA just intercepted a coded burst transmission. They're trying to pin it down, but best guess is that the Tangos are pulling their surveillance teams. We're trying to broaden our own net. Keep your eyes open. Acknowledged, Dale responds. Looking at the icons in the built-in display on the center console, Dale instructs the driver to alter his course, putting them 8 blocks south of the current net. As good a start as any. Tammy hastily stuffs her gear back into the suitcase and rushes to re-establish her street persona. She takes a long pull from the cheap pint whiskey bottle, swallowing with a grimace. She then sprinkles more of the foul-smelling liquor onto her hands and clothing before slipping the bottle into a side pocket. Pulling the bag behind her, Tammy ambles out of the alley and turns south, heading away from the incoming cruisers. 2 blocks from the epicenter, a pair of uniformed officers halt her, nose wrinkling at her stench. The oldest of the pair approaches her cautiously, saying, Hold on there a minute, ma'am. Can I see some identification, please? Shaking her head and mumbling unintelligibly, Tammy shies away from the man, cringing and pointing towards the street. Looking at his partner, the officer rolls his eyes and tries to take Tammy's arm. Shrieking and snatching away, Tammy curses loudly, pulling herself and her bag to the stoop of the closest building. Arms waving wildly, she screeches loudly, Okay, bastards, okay. I'll show ID, okay? Here, don't touch it, it's not yours, okay? Opening her case, Tammy reveals the foul-smelling and ragged clothing crumpled in the center. There is a rind of moldering cheese and a 3-day-old half-eaten sandwich loosely wrapped in the center of a filthy bandana. Angrily pulling the spoiling food from her case, Tammy thrusts it towards the hovering officers, shouting, Here, it's ID, okay? Can you go now? Pity and revulsion war with each other on the younger officer's face. His partner turns away from the seemingly disturbed woman with a wave of dismissal, grumbling, We ain't got time for this shit. Get out of here, lady, and put that nasty shit away. The uniformed men turn away and Tammy drops the prop back into her case with a grunt. Time to put on some speed and ditch this disguise. Moving more deliberately, Tammy widens her distance from the officers, her mind racing with unanswered questions. Jorge watches the local news coverage of the unfolding events with a grim fatalism. Layers within layers. That crazy puta is either going to kill me or get my homies to do it for her. We're doing the dirty work. But how many damn groups does she have working this? Shivering, Jorge jumps when his phone buzzes. The text is direct and ominous. Here. Now. Taking his coat, he pauses to call his number 2 on a separate burner phone. Manny, get the lawyers down to bail the Vatos out. Hold off on phase 2 until you hear from me, eh? Closing the phone without waiting for a reply, Jorge turns the ringer off and leaves his apartment. Dale exits the vehicle and instructs the driver to start circling. As he jogs down the street, Dale's head swivels left and right, methodically scanning, looking for anything out of the ordinary. Passing an alley, Dale glimpses a shuffling, hunched-over form hurrying out the far side. Something tickles his memory, and he quickly backtracks. Sprinting down the darkened passageway, Dale sees the tramp turn right. He follows, exiting wide, giving himself maneuvering room. The homeless person, now a quarter of a block away, casts a quick backward glance at the sound of his running footsteps. Closing the distance rapidly, Dale shouts, "MT, wait!" The vagabond increases speed, huffing loudly and muttering. Dale loops past, blocking the way. The running figure skids to a halt, cringing. "Easy. I just want to talk to you," Dale soothes. The scrawny woman eyes him warily as Dale studies the face and posture, disappointed. Shit, it's not Tammy. What the hell made me think it was? Digging in his pocket, Dale hands the frightened woman some rumpled money, saying softly, I'm sorry, I thought you dropped this. Is it yours? Nodding eagerly, the woman gingerly takes the cash, quickly stuffing it into a pocket of her own. Dale steps back into the street, looking both ways as the hobo hurries off. Not the vagrant. Damn! The jogger running past her! Shit! Dale runs to the corner, looking both ways, but the sparsely populated streets reveal no runners. Pulling his phone from his pocket, he calls his driver, giving him the street address. While he waits, he dials the field command center and instructs them to widen their net even further and to begin searching dumpsters and trash bins for weapons and discarded clothing. For all the good it'll do, she's gone. Demonis Alumno stares at the hard copies of the images before her. 2 of the warheads have made it into the city and are secured. The triggering devices are still days away, but those are much easier to transport. Authorizing the payments will very nearly deplete her liquid funds, but recouping them will be easy enough. America will pay anything to prevent her from leveling this hated city. Once they pay, she'll give them the locations, right before she detonates the devices anyway. Smiling wickedly, she shreds the documents and, pouring lighter fluid onto the confetti, she ignites the contents of the catch pan. Unlocking the door with a remote, she uses the intercom and says simply, "Get in here." Jorge opens the double-reinforced doors and enters slowly, his eyes darting from the burning container to her to the rest of the room. Motioning him to take a seat, the arms merchant smiles as she turns on the big-screen television behind her. "Busy day, eh, Jorge?" Unable to gauge her current temperament, Jorge nods, replying quietly, "I would say we have their attention." Her smile becomes shark-like, and Demonis Alumno leans forward. Voice lowering, she growls, "Indeed, all of this." She waves a hand at the muted screen and continues, "And what did you have in mind for a finale?" Chills running down his spine, Jorge replies, "I was going to wait a few days and either grab one of the church's workers or make a run at the cop again." Leaning back in her chair, Demonis Alumno closes her eyes and hums for a moment, while Jorge's stomach churns. Opening a drawer, she pulls out a plain manila file folder and slides it toward him, staring hard and saying brightly, "Not bad, Jorge, but I think I would prefer these to be your next targets." Picking up the folder, Jorge opens it to see the photographs of a young teenage girl, 2 elderly women, and some hard-ass in a military uniform. The rest of the information is scanty, and Jorge asks the obvious question, watching Demonis Alumno's face harden before he completes it. "Where are these people?" "I don't know," she snaps, "but you are going to help me find out." As she lays out the details, Jorge suppresses the urge to vomit, paling more with each sentence. Tammy pants as she catches her breath, boarding the subway car. "Dale's here. They'll find the crap I dumped, but it's clean. Does this have to do with the missiles that scumbag was talking about? Shit." Leaning back, Tammy massages her temples, trying to shake the throbbing headache that's making her miserable. "I've got to find out what else is going on. What is it I'm not remembering?" The hiss of the car's steel wheels on the track reveals no answers.
This has been a presentation of Big World Network. Visit us on BigWorldNetwork.com for more free weekly series, or follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to Big World Network.